For a veteran, the flash of a firework can be a flashback to war. While you're looking for the cereal, he's looking for an ambush. Our soldiers are leaving one battle and coming home to another. We're fighting a war against veteran suicide, and we're losing. In fact, 22 veterans take their own life each day. I know because I was almost one of them. I was U.S. Army paratrooper, Green Beret, eventually in Delta Force. I did 40 months of direct action combat. But I didn't come back the same man who had left 2 decades before. Everyone says, we're glad you're home safe. I wasn't. And many of our veterans are not. They're still at war. So this is your mission. Help us claim the 22. You can give our vets the hope and encouragement they need to get well. And it's as simple as a post or a tweet. Let's turn every 22 into a show of support. When you do, you're letting our vets know they have an army behind them. Let's win the war against veteran suicide.
Your mission begins at mission22.com.
Good morning, and welcome to You Be the Judge. We're at a place that we've been before with a guest that we've had on the show a number of times. And we're going to be talking about the needs of some of our members of the community that have fallen on hard times because of the economy and maybe illness or any number of reasons. And we're here at Monsignor, really one of the great things in our community, the St. Francis Kitchen, right next to St. Francis Commons.
Right, yeah, Todd, it really is one of the real gems in our community of an indication of how very, very generous this community is, because the kitchen couldn't exist unless we had lots of volunteers and lots of contributors, lots of people who are willing to go out of their way to help us to feed those who are hungry.
What percent of your budget here is donated by volunteers, and particularly when you consider the labor, et cetera?
50%.
Wow.
50%,
wow.
Because we really don't employ that many people, but we have 15 to 18 people serving every single meal 365 days a year.
Wow.
It's extraordinary. And we have people that have been coming to this kitchen volunteering 1 or 2 days a week for over 30 years.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. This was Monsignor Seg12's project. He was the founder, I guess.
Absolutely.
One of the beginners.
And as you and I would know, because we're old enough, is that it started in the Hotel Scranton, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Right.
And it was a little tiny cubbyhole of a place. The very first time that they served a meal, they served 14 meals. We now serve almost 200 meals every single day.
Wow. Is that both lunch and dinner?
Well, that's just lunch.
That's just
in
lunch.
the evening, we also serve maybe 125 to 150 people in addition to that.
Wow. And how many volunteers do you have per?
We need 15 to 18 volunteers every single day.
Wow. Wow.
And we always have them.
They stay to wash the dishes as well?
They wash the pots and they wash the dishes, and anybody who's worked around a commercial kitchen knows that there's plenty to wash and there's plenty to clean up. But they clean the tables, they set the chairs. It's really an extraordinary undertaking of this community, and this community should be extremely proud at the kind of meal that we're able to serve. We don't serve, most soup kitchens are exactly that, soup kitchens, maybe a sandwich and soup. St. Francis of Assisi Kitchen serves a complete meal, far more than most people would ordinarily eat.
And I noticed on Facebook, come summertime, it's sometimes a little difficult to get some red meat and meats, et cetera. And I would encourage all of our viewers to think about that. you wonder what you can do for somebody that may need a little help, come down here with a couple bags full of chicken or pork chops or hamburger, because it'll go a long way.
Absolutely, and that's why I thought when you asked me what percentage of the budget, I thought you were going to say what percentage of the food budget. You know, the truth is that our food budget is what we actually have to purchase is only 20% of what we actually serve.
Wow.
The other 80% is donated by individuals, by schools and clubs and organizations, and also, of course, by the Weinberg Food Bank, of which we're a member.
That's great.
It's extraordinary.
When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about how people can get involved and how they sign up to become a host for a day. So please stay tuned to You Be the Judge.
If you are disabled and unable to work, you may be entitled to Social Security benefits. In order to obtain benefits, you must prove your disability is severe enough to keep you from working. Social Security is financed through a dedicated payroll tax. If you have been paying taxes, then you have been paying into Social Security. And if you are no longer able to work, you've earned your rights to your Social Security benefits. Call the lawyers at O'Malley & Langen, representing Social Security claimants for a quarter of a century.
Monsignor, I notice on the wall there's a big sign for a host of a day and a place where the name can be put up. How does that work?
Well, the host for a day is a donation of $100. And for a donation of $100, your name goes on the board, as you indicate. And sometimes people will do that as a birthday present. Sometimes they'll do it in memory of somebody who's deceased. But that is probably the biggest fundraiser that St. Francis of Assisi Kitchen does each and every year is the host for a day. Also, our board, which is a fantastic board, does great work at encouraging people to buy a ticket, which is $100, and be a host for a day.
John Viola has done that for me every year.
Absolutely. Well,
terrific volunteer.
Yeah, there are very, very few people that have been in our community for any length of time that aren't hit up, because we do have a board of 47 people, and they are all go-getters. And they are all people who, you know, we expect them to sell tickets. And so I know that you're one of those sponsors for a day, and you've been very, very generous to the kitchen, and I do thank you and your wife, Liz.
Well, we love it. I mean, I just think I drive by here every day on the way home, see this in St. Francis, and just thank the good Lord that we have it, because it's so important.
Well, exactly, and I think most people in our community understand that there, but for the grace of God, go any one of us. And certainly there goes any one of our family members, because so many of the people that come here for a meal, the truth of the matter is that they're working. Many of them are working 20, 30 hours a week, you know, but it's low wages, you know, underemployment rather than unemployment. And then, of course, there's also the unemployment issue. Then so many of the older folks that come here have so many health concerns. They tell me all the time that they're spending all their income on medicine, you know, rent, utilities, and there isn't anything else left.
You know, I have the privilege of serving on the National Board of the Interfaith Workers Justice. And every time we have a board meeting, we invite in some of the fast food workers, some of the Walmart workers. And you hear these stories, and you hear how so many of them had businesses that they lost because of the recession. Because of illness, they find themselves having to work at a McDonald's or a Walmart and not having a wage that's a living wage.
That's
and
right.
It is sad. I mean, when I hear people say, oh, it's going to hurt unemployment, that's crazy. I mean, you give people money, they're going to spend it.
Yes.
And it's going to help everybody in the long run. But that's, you know, I just finished a great book called The Boys in the Boat. And it's the story of the team, the rowing team from the University of Washington that won the 1936 Olympics.
Yeah.
And it's a story about the Great Depression. about one of the boys who was left at 12 years old to fend for himself because mom and dad and his younger brothers were going to Seattle and they couldn't take him. Sad, sad story, but you see that type of suffering in the past, and you look at today, we've had an extended recession since really 2000. And it's been, or 2007, 2008, but it isn't getting much better for the people at the bottom rungs of the social.
Exactly. Those who haven't had the opportunity for education, those who haven't had the opportunity for family support, that's who we're dealing with here. These are the people of our community that are in need of a good meal.
And what time do you open up in the morning as far as?
The volunteers are here by 8:30, and we serve the meal at 11, from 11 until 12. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we serve an evening meal from 5 until 6.
And again, the meal is?
A real meal, a real meal from soup to nuts, and the fact is that it's a great opportunity for people to recognize that there are hungry people in our community, and I encourage people not only to give a donation, but I also encourage people just to stop by. Stop by and see who it is, because I think they'd be surprised at who it is that we're feeding.
But it's difficult to see people struggling the way they are.
Well, thank God we have a place like this where people are able to come, and it's not just the meal, it's also the socialization. We have numerous people that come every single day, and actually the one fella said to me, he said, I probably could buy my own food, but he said, I'm living alone in a room, and he said, these are my friends.
That's terrific.
He comes and he sits at the same table with the same group all the time.
That's terrific.
Yep.
And I mean, that's important, as you say. The socialization is really a part of life.
Absolutely. Right.
So we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what's going on here and what we can do specifically to help, particularly during the summer months when the food shortage seems to hit you. So please stay tuned to You Be the Judge. Todd O'Malley again. If you're hurt or sick, can't work, Social Security could be the answer. Grab your cell phone. Call the lawyers at O'Malley & Langen, 1-800-817-2667. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win. Hi, I'm Todd O'Malley from the law offices of O'Malley & Langen. If I say the word tragedy, what do you think? Hurricanes, flooding, devastation on a huge scale. I'll bet not one of you thought work injury. And that's a problem in our society. Just because something happens one person at a time doesn't make it any less significant. Over 3.5 million people are injured or killed on the job every year, each an individual tragedy. If you've been hurt at work, your job, your family, your health, even your future could be at risk. Call O'Malley & Langen. You'll find there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll review your case, find that glimmer of hope, and fight back. If you're facing crippling medical bills, or they're forcing you back to work too soon, call O'Malley & Langen 24/7. Nights and weekends, one of our lawyers will answer the phone. Call 1-800-817-COMP. That's 1-800-817-2667.